What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to continue just a conversation on mental diets. Hopefully, adding something positive to your mental diet for today. Really on this vibe of acceptance. And really experiencing a lot of like positive results from that. It's kind of intense at first because we spend so much time avoiding the present moment, even though even if you're like mindfully trying to stay present, it's still, sometimes the old mindset creeps in, and we start to drift into like future projections, thinking that we know the future based on a past that probably didn't really even know what was going on then. That's like one of the things I keep reminding myself of, like, getting out of this, like, I'm a fortune teller kind of vibe, because so much of that is based on, what I think the past has been, the past experiences and everything else. Not to say that repetition of things isn't important, because, like, even in playing an instrument, like, oh, it's like if you don't remember the past, then, it's like you'll just play the guitar and just like forget everything. And it's like, that's not what I'm talking about. It's like, it's more like like with the guitar, that repetition has just become almost like a flow, like where you can just like pick it up and you're not in your mind about it. You're not like telling yourself these stories about it, all these like hours of practice for years and years and years. I mean, it's all just like, now it just flows. It's like walking. I mean, you don't think about walking, you just do it. Same type of thing. And that's not what I'm talking about when it's like, like using the past to predict the future. That has to do more about your state of mind than a lot of like the repetition of like you've walked, for 20 years, and so you're not like, oh, I'm going to decide to change how I strut around. And maybe on some level, but what I'm talking about more is like the constant reactivity and reacting out of fear, and then falling down these rabbit holes of reactivity, and starting to believe separation is real. And then next thing you know, as you believe that, then you start seeing more examples of that, and you start to believe it more. And as you're doing that, you're drifting into states of anger and more unconscious reactivity. And next thing you know, you realize you're in your mind again. You've been doing that for like an hour of clock time, and it's still the present moment. It's still now. Once you really grasp the idea of time being an illusion, which it is an illusion. It's like, it's one thing we have clock time, and it's like, oh, I'll talk to you on Monday, this type of normal shit. But like, it's one thing to do that, to kind of structure a day and structure meeting people at certain points of time and whatever. It's another to be like in your mind, like tick 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 tick. I'm running out of time. Oh, my 3-year plan, my 5-year plan, my, oh, what are we gonna do tomorrow? What's next? This constant just not enoughness, and I gotta like efforting and doing, and like one of the things I like brought up is, it's like, I feel like God's love is unconditional, which is like automatically kind of triggering to the old mindset, which is based entirely on conditional love, through doing and efforting and everything, like earning it. It's like, don't fuck with whatever, and then next thing I'll be disappointed and blah blah blah. And what I kind of like gained from that understanding is like realizing that in this present moment now, as we're just sitting here enjoying this time and space nowness, I guess, together, we're not actually doing anything. We're just like sitting here, we're just talking, and we don't even have to talk. I mean, I just stare at the screen for a while. You can stare back if you feel like it, and in that, we could both just know that in that in that unconditioned state, God loves us. It's just like, it's like a knowingness, I guess, that happens in the present moment. It's like part of like beingness, and it also is part of like acceptance. Is like here and now. I mean, you're not doing anything, but God still loves you. So and starting to like actually feel that more and more so is important to start to connect with that energy, because there's a lighter feel to the day as you're kind of letting go, trusting that, the things being brought to your awareness, that are being brought to your life, that are being brought to your to you to do something with, it's all being divinely orchestrated, and not to sit in fear about it and reactivity every time that God's trying to move you to a more like a state with less suffering, basically. Kicking and screaming. And it's funny because you, like, as someone who's like done this over and over and over again, where it's just like battling and resisting like changing states, but then when you finally do, when you finally just let it go or forgive it or whatever, it feels so much better. And it's like, it's reliably like that, but it's like, yet there's still this inner conflict. It's so fucking surreal, sometimes. We're just like, why am I and most of this resisting is entirely because of something happening in the present moment that, all of a sudden we're not accepting it, so now there's a story, now there's some drama, now there's some maybe hysterics, maybe there's some fear, whatever it is, it's just like, use that, as like a tool to start to let some of that shit go, see why you're even triggered by it. You'd be surprised, a lot of this shit comes from like childhood that you've been hanging on to for 30 years unconsciously. It's like you tell yourself stories of like, oh, I just don't remember what it was like then. It's like, you will, when you realize where that limiting belief stems from. You'll remember the exact moment that came into your awareness, even if it was when you were 5 years old. And it's like, it's weird, but it's all still there. Everything is still there. And it's like, as you start to let a lot of the drama go, and a lot of the stories that we've created, it's like, really, when you take responsibility for a lot of the shit going wrong in your life, and even the things that are going right, it's just, either one is kind of relative, but like, when you stop, blaming some external separate force for your woes, and like, start taking like, okay, well, if I'm responsible for this, okay, I can try to accept that for now. Then if I'm responsible for it being bad, then I should be responsible then for the opposite then too. And even in that, it's like, it's like, I think the easiest way to maybe visualize this is to think of the sun. When you look outside, it's like always just shining, whether you believe it does or not. It's like your mind has the ability to look out a window, and see the sun shining, but it also has the ability to close the curtain. And in closing the curtain, then the mind starts coming up with all these stories then about how you're not good enough for the sun. This like, oh, you're in darkness now. It's gone forever. And you start just telling yourself these made up stories that aren't real or based in any type of truth. And then the fear comes from believing that is real. But it's like, as simple as, just stop listening to that voice, that guide, that made up story that you have created, and just opening the curtain again and realizing the sun is still shining and that never left, and you've just made this elaborate story for however long that, about the sun disappearing, even though it's still there, and it's like, it's the same kind of thing in consciousness. When you drift out of like the present moment and you start getting into like worries and concerns, and what if this happens, and what if that happens, or I'm not good enough to experience anything fun, I'm just supposed to sit here suffering all the time, suffer, or there's so much beauty in the pain. It's like, all this shit we tell ourselves that is ultimately, it's like, from my perspective, when I hear that shit, it's like, I used to want to shake people and be like, what the fuck, are you seriously just like trying to justify why you think suffering needlessly 24/7 is an important thing for you? But it's everybody's process. That suffering, will eventually lead people to going, hey, maybe something's wrong, and snap out of it on some level. Hopefully, that's kind of, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to do that, you can go ahead. Because it gets to a point, it's like, when is enough enough? You want 10 years of it? It's like, and even if you have it like a little threshold, it's like a little threshold of suffering compared to just being at peace. It's just like, so much of it, once you break out of the illusions of these, it sounds so stupid. It sounds like very, like, just retarded. It's like, well, I think I should just be sitting here suffering and suffering and suffering, and then, reality is like, life is a reflection of consciousness. And so it's like, if you're holding on to these suffering beliefs, these limiting beliefs about, the whatever the merit of it, the I don't, whatever, what you're putting it, suffering on this fucking whatever, and then it's just like, yeah, and then all of a sudden, next thing when you're in your life situation, you see more of it, and it's just, it'll just be reflecting these inner beliefs of it, and making you believe it even more so, and it's just like, you can be believing, love is, perfect love casts out fear, is what the Bible says, and fear has torment, and so it's like, if you want to be in fear and torment, that means you're not experiencing God, you're not experiencing love, and even though there is only one force, it's just whether or not you're just connected with it in your natural state, which is who you are, or you're believing things that aren't true. Is ultimately, you're believing what you're not. And you think that you're disconnected from God when you're not. It's just like, it's like believing like my hand is disconnected from my body. It's like, no, it's all connected. But even our bodies are huge collections of like living cells, and it's all working together in this harmony that's kind of hard to comprehend. It's really hard to comprehend. It's like creation is like beyond comprehension. The old mind thinks that, oh, it's I got it. That's the thing with like the old mind. It thinks it knows everything. It thinks it knows more than God. It thinks it knows everything about like the body. It's an expert in everything. Oh, so let me tell you about mitosis or whatever. Some fucking cellular shit. It's just like, really, getting, and part of acceptance, I feel like is helpful, is getting out of this mindset that you know anything, because you really don't. I mean, most people think, reality is solid and stable and linear, and it's not, and so it's like, until you experience that for yourself, then it's just crazy talk. But, when you do experience it for yourself, buckle up. But like, yeah, I just want to get on here, kind of, share some things. Yeah, I got a message. It's like, now that like the New Year's came and went, it's starting to pick up on my handyman business, which is good. I haven't worked for like a month and a half, and so it's like, it's kind of a good thing, to get that going again, especially considering I have like a helper that's like also kind of dealing with this shit too. My wife, she's working, for my business, but she's like kind of branching out, doing her own thing with it, which is actually doing really well, and so. It's not like a dire situation, and like in a lot of ways, I like to have like the time to like put out new tracks, do music, and kind of stimulate that kind of area of things. The problem, is just like, it's so weird, because it's like you get the real world, type of like thing when it comes to like business. It's so matter of fact and simple, but when it comes to like the internet, it's just like I don't know if this is my own drama and stories. It probably is, where it's just like, it's like you have to like come up with like, not trickery. I don't want to say trickery, but it's just like, oh, you always have to just figure out some hodgepodge way to like make money from the internet. It's just like, and it's all just these little, but it's like the carrot is always like, well, there's billions of people that you can, if a billion people gave you a penny, it's just like, okay, whatever, it's just so much easier just to, you probably take your guitar and just like on the street corner and make more money than you do a fucking streaming shit on YouTube, but like, it is what it is, but like, I do appreciate the ability to like reach people that are just wherever, states away, countries away, time zones away, and that kind of experience, it's kind of neat, but like, at the same time, it's like, and this is not like a weird flex. Yeah, hopefully it's not like sounds like a flex or anything, but it's like, in like, just in like town, it's like you make like $500 or $1,000 like that, in like a fucking day, and it's like to do the same like on the internet. I don't know. Maybe it's just like you have to cross this certain threshold of mind, because I think a lot of it has to do with like a mindset. Again, I think it's all mindset, like, and it's all connected. It's all like reflective of like these beliefs, and so not to say that that's reality. It's just like my experience. Doesn't mean it's like my experience going forward. But it's just having had like a music business now for I think 10 years, maybe more. Of just like doing like online things. It just seems like it's so much easier just doing things in person and like the real world. Compared to online shit. But I'm kind of just on this tangent. Hopefully that isn't the reality for other people. Hopefully, people can get on the internet and just it's like a flood of opportunities and incomes and everything. Like the new music business is filled with just like all, neat all these opportunities and shit. But yeah, not to sound like a downer. But like I think I'm gonna bounce. So thanks everybody for liking, sharing, subscribing, all the social networking things. I appreciate that. I also appreciate your spiritual support and your financial support. Thank you for that. And until the next now, God bless.